The halls of General Hospital are about to witness one of the most emotionally charged revelations in recent memory as Dr. Portia Robinson finds herself at the center of a dramatic pregnancy storyline that threatens to upend multiple lives in Port Charles. When nurse Elizabeth Weber notices troubling signs in her colleague and friend, she sets in motion a chain of events that will force Portia to confront her deepest secrets and make a confession that could destroy everything she holds dear. The telltale signs. It began with subtle changes that only a trained medical professional would notice. Elizabeth observed Portia experiencing dizzy spells and nausea during their shifts at General Hospital, symptoms that initially seemed stress-related given Portia's demanding work schedule and tumultuous personal life. The two women had developed a close friendship over the years, with Elizabeth serving as one of Portia's most trusted confidants during her professional and personal struggles. "Any chance you could be pregnant?" Elizabeth asked during a particularly concerning episode when Portia nearly fainted in the hospital corridor. The question hung in the air like a thunderbolt, forcing Portia to confront a possibility she hadn't dared consider amidst the chaos of her crumbling marriage to Curtis Ashford and her growing closeness to Dr. Isaiah Gannon. Elizabeth's medical training kicked in as she observed her friend's symptoms with professional concern. The dizziness, the unexplained nausea, the fatigue that Portia had been attributing to her heavy workload, all pointed to a condition that could change everything. As someone who had navigated her own share of complicated pregnancies and paternity issues, Elizabeth recognized the signs that Portia was desperately trying to ignore. The friendship that provided sanctuary, the bond between Elizabeth and Portia had deepened over months of shared shifts and personal conversations. Elizabeth understood what it meant to carry secrets that could devastate families, having once concealed the truth about her own son's paternity. This shared experience of maternal deception created an unspoken understanding between the two women, making Elizabeth the perfect confidant for Portia's current crisis. When Elizabeth gently suggested that Portia take a pregnancy test, she did so with the compassion of someone who understood the weight of such revelations. The suggestion wasn't made lightly. Elizabeth had observed her friend's symptoms with growing concern and felt compelled to voice what others might have missed. Her medical background and personal experiences made her uniquely qualified to recognize the signs that Portia was exhibiting. The devastating revelation. The positive pregnancy test results sent shockwaves through Portia's carefully constructed world. The timing couldn't have been more catastrophic, coming at a moment when her marriage to Curtis was already strained by secrets and lies about her involvement in manipulating Heather Weber's medical tests. The pregnancy represented not just a new life, but a complication that threatened to expose the full extent of her recent betrayals. Portia's relationship with Curtis had been deteriorating for months, with trust eroded by her repeated deceptions about Drew Kane's blackmail and her manipulation of hospital records. The couple had been working to rebuild their marriage, but the foundation remained shaky, built on half-truths and concealed betrayals that continued to poison their relationship. Meanwhile, her connection with Isaiah had evolved from professional collegiality to emotional intimacy, eventually crossing the line into a full-blown affair. Isaiah had been there during Portia's darkest moments, offering support and understanding when Curtis seemed distant and judgmental about her past mistakes. The moment of truth. When Portia finally confided in Elizabeth about the pregnancy, she also revealed the devastating truth about the baby's potential paternity. The confession came in a moment of vulnerability, when the weight of her secrets became too much to bear alone. Elizabeth, who had been encouraging her friend to be honest about her symptoms, suddenly found herself the keeper of an explosive secret that could destroy two families. "Curtis isn't the father," Portia whispered, her voice barely audible in the private hospital room where they had sought refuge from prying eyes and curious colleagues. The words hung between them like a death sentence, carrying implications that neither woman could fully comprehend in that moment. "It's Isaiah's baby." Elizabeth's shocked expression reflected the gravity of the situation. As someone who had navigated her own paternity deceptions years earlier, she understood the devastating potential of such revelations. The parallel to her own past was unmistakable. Another woman, another pregnancy, another web of lies that threatened to destroy the lives of everyone involved. The promise of silence. Despite her shock at Portia's revelation, Elizabeth recognized her friend's desperate need for confidentiality. Drawing on her own experiences with complicated family secrets, she understood that premature disclosure could have catastrophic consequences for everyone involved. The promise of silence wasn't given lightly. Elizabeth knew that keeping such a secret would make her complicit in a deception that could ultimately hurt the people she cared about. "I won't tell anyone," Elizabeth assured her friend, grasping Portia's trembling hands as tears streamed down the expectant mother's face. The promise was both a gift and a burden, binding Elizabeth to a secret that would test her own moral boundaries and force her to become an active participant in Portia's deception. The weight of the secret settled heavily on both women. For Portia, Elizabeth's promise provided temporary relief from the terror of immediate exposure, but it also meant that she would have to continue living with the knowledge that her life was built on lies. For Elizabeth, the promise meant carrying a burden that could affect her relationships with Curtis, Isaiah, and everyone else in their interconnected circle of friends and colleagues. The complexity of deception. Portia's situation was further complicated by the timeline of her relationships with both men. She had been intimate with Curtis during a brief reconciliation period, followed closely by her passionate encounter with Isaiah after declaring her marriage over. The narrow window between these encounters made it impossible to determine paternity without medical intervention, creating a situation ripe for deception and manipulation. The pregnancy forced Portia to confront the full extent of her recent choices and their potential consequences. Her affair with Isaiah hadn't been a momentary lapse in judgment, but rather the culmination of months of emotional distance from Curtis and growing intimacy with a man who seemed to understand her in ways her husband no longer did. The pregnancy represented not just a biological consequence, but a tangible reminder of her betrayal and the lies she would need to tell to protect her secret. The ripple effects. As news of the pregnancy would inevitably spread through the close-knit General Hospital community, both women understood that maintaining their secret would become increasingly difficult. The hospital environment, with its constant interaction between staff members and the impossibility of complete privacy, would make concealment a daily challenge requiring careful coordination and constant vigilance. Curtis, despite his recent conflicts with Portia, would likely be overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a father, especially given his previous disappointment at missing Trina's early years to Portia's earlier deception about paternity. His happiness would make Portia's deception even more painful, as she would be forced to accept his joy and support while knowing that the child might not be his. Isaiah, meanwhile, would remain unaware of his potential fatherhood, continuing his complicated relationship with Portia while unknowingly facing the possibility of becoming a parent. His position at the hospital and his professional relationship with both Portia and Curtis would make the situation even more precarious, as any suspicion about the pregnancy's timing could lead to devastating revelations. The pregnancy secret that Elizabeth now shared with Portia represented more than just concealed paternity. It embodied the complex web of relationships, betrayals, and moral compromises that defined life in Port Charles. As both women navigated the treacherous waters ahead, they would discover that some secrets are too powerful to contain and that the truth, no matter how carefully hidden, has a way of demanding recognition. The story of Portia's pregnancy and Elizabeth's promise of silence would unfold against the backdrop of General Hospital's most dramatic traditions, where medical emergencies pale in comparison to the emotional crises that define the characters' lives. In a world where secrets are currency and truth is a luxury few can afford, the bond between these two women would be tested by forces beyond their control, setting the stage for revelations that could reshape multiple families and destroy carefully constructed lives. Next, we will learn about the heartbreaking mischance for an epic romance between Jason Morgan and Elizabeth Weber that has Port Charles fans in absolute turmoil. In the shadowy world of Port Charles, where secrets unravel like fragile threads in a tapestry, the soap opera landscape is littered with what-ifs that haunt loyal viewers. General Hospital has a storied legacy of near misses and love stories, but none stings quite like the untapped potential of a full-throttle liaison saga starring Jason and Elizabeth. For years, fans have clamored for this pairing to explode into a passionate narrative, fueled by the electric tension that simmered since their first intense encounters in the late 90s. Yet, the show's writers have repeatedly swerved away, opting for explosive reunions elsewhere that overshadow this golden opportunity. Imagine the depth it could add. Jason's hardened enforcer facade cracking under Elizabeth's gentle persistence, or her resilient spirit finding solace in his unwavering protection amid the town's relentless storms. This isn't just fan fiction, it's a storyline begging to be born, one that could redefine their legacies on screen. Diving deeper into their storied past, Jason and Elizabeth's connection is the stuff of daytime drama legend, a blend of vulnerability and valor that has captivated audiences across generations. It all sparked during those early crises, like the warehouse inferno where Jason pulled Elizabeth from the brink, their eyes locking in a moment of raw, unspoken promise. Over the decades, they've weathered betrayals, blackouts, and betrayals. Remember the Valentine's Day blackouts that forced them into hiding, sharing whispers by candlelight that hinted at deeper affections. Their bond solidified with the birth of Jake Weber, their secret son whose existence wove an unbreakable family tie, even through custody battles and presumed deaths. Elizabeth's artistic soul, always sketching dreams in her quiet moments at the nurse's station, contrasted beautifully with Jason's tactical precision in the mob underworld, creating a dynamic where she coaxed out his hidden tenderness, like during the night watches over comatose loved ones. Jason, in turn, became her anchor, shielding her from the likes of Helena Casadin's machinations or Franco Baldwin's lingering shadows. Fans have dissected these episodes endlessly, pointing to scenes like their lakeside picnic where laughter pierced the tension, proving their chemistry could rival any super couple. Yet, despite this rich history, the show has let these embers fade, leaving viewers to replay old clips on streaming platforms, yearning for the revival that feels so tantalizingly close. The fandom's collective heartbreak reached fever pitch as Jason's current trajectory veers sharply from this romantic path, plunging into a whirlwind of resurrections and revelations that sideline Elizabeth entirely. Britt Westburn's dramatic comeback from the dead, pulled from the icy depths of Croatian intrigue, has Jason grappling with ghosts of his past flings, their old flame reigniting amid cryptic warnings about lingering threats from the Casadini Empire. Meanwhile, Carly Spencer's world is crumbling under the weight of her daughter Jocelyn Jack's clandestine involvement with the WSB, a spy network that pulls Joss into dangerous ops reminiscent of Robert Scorpio's glory days. Add to that the Quartermaine family's fracturing after Monica Quartermaine's tragic passing, with boardroom battles and inheritance disputes drawing Jason back into corporate espionage he thought he'd escaped. Fans are flooding online forums with impassioned pleas, sharing memes of Jason and Elizabeth's iconic hugs overlaid with captions like "Why deny us this forever?" Social media buzzes with threads analyzing how a liaison reunion could heal these fractures. Elizabeth tending to Jason's wounds from a Quartermaine ambush, her soft touch reminding him of simpler times before the bikes and bullets. Elizabeth's portrayal in recent episodes only amplifies the frustration, as she navigates a labyrinth of subplots that feel disconnected from her core spark with Jason. Once the heart of the hospital's emotional epicenter, she's now entangled in administrative squabbles, coldly dismissing old allies like Jason in favor of aligning with Portia Robinson's ambitious agendas at General Hospital. Picture her in the dimly lit break room, poring over staffing charts while ignoring the subtle glances Jason casts her way during visits, a deliberate chill that fans attribute to her unresolved grief over past losses, like the presumed death of her mentor. But it robs the screen of their natural synergy. Rebecca Herb's nuanced performance shines through these constraints, her expressive eyes conveying layers of unspoken longing. Yet the scripts confine her to peripheral roles, mediating nurse strikes or evading Lucky Spencer's unpredictable returns from Europe, where he's entangled in his own redemption arc involving old Port Charles ghosts. This sidelining feels like a tragic underuse, especially when contrasted with the vibrant energy Herbst and Steve Burton generate together. Think of their improvised ad-libs in rehearsal footage leaked online, hinting at untapped magic. Inventive fan theories suggest Yvette's coldness is a facade, building to a breakdown where she confesses her fears of losing Jason again to the mob life, a revelation that could shatter the ice and propel Liaison forward. Britt's spectral influence and Carly's escalating crises form an impenetrable barrier, drawing Jason into emotional orbits that eclipse any Liaison whispers. Previews hint at Jason's reflective monologues under the stars, regretting the roads not taken with Britt during their feverish affair in the catacombs, where she once saved him from a poisoned dark trap. Details that add poignant layers to their chemistry but steal thunder from Elizabeth's quieter, enduring pull. Carly, ever the fierce matriarch, faces devastation upon discovering Jack Brennan's role in recruiting Joss for high-stakes WSB missions, perhaps involving encrypted files hidden in Metro Court vaults that Jason must decode. This platonic powerhouse duo, Jason as her steadfast guardian, Carly as his moral compass, reinforces their unbreakable alliance, with scenes of them strategizing over coffee, hands brushing in accidental intimacy that fans decry as teasing without delivering. Twitter erupts with queries like Britt's undead drama and Carly's spy mom saga over Liz's soulmate vibe. Explain. Deeper analysis reveals how these arcs mirror Jason's internal conflict. Britt represents reckless passion, Carly loyal stability, but neither matches the profound partnership Elizabeth offers, one where they could co-parent Jake through his rebellious teen phase, perhaps involving a school scandal that forces their hands together. Yet, amid the despair, a flicker of optimism burns for Liaison devotees, who envision pathways where fate intervenes to realign these star-crossed souls. Elizabeth's innate compassion as a nurse could bridge the gap during the somber fallout from Monica's death, where Jason mourns privately at the Quartermaine mausoleum, and she arrives with a comforting blanket, their conversation evolving from condolences to confessions about lost years. The ongoing investigation into Drew Kane's mysterious shooting, riddled with sniper evidence pointing to corporate rivals, might unite them in a late-night stackout. Elizabeth bandaging Jason's grazed arm while sharing fears for their son's safety in this web of deceit. Fans weave elaborate speculations. What if a family emergency with Jake, like a car accident echoing Franco's dark history, draws them into a vigil at the ICU, where old flames rekindle over shared tears? Even bolder theories posit Elizabeth stumbling upon Joss's WSB dossier during a routine hospital file audit, thrusting her into the intrigue and straight into Jason's protective embrace, their alliance evolving into stolen kisses amid the chaos. Nathan West's impending return, stirring Henschel family tempest with lies about his demise, could distract Jason momentarily, but savvy viewers predict it as a catalyst, Elizabeth mediating the fallout, reminding Jason of the home they've yet to build. With Herbst's contract rumors swirling and Burton's stoic charm undimmed, the stage is set for a Liaison resurgence that honors their legacy while propelling Port Charles into fresh dramatic heights. As the dust settles on these tangled plots, the question lingers like a cliffhanger. Will General Hospital finally deliver the sweeping Liaison epic fans deserve, or will distractions bury it deeper? From invented wedding crashers tying back to their Jakira vows, to hypothetical therapy sessions unpacking Jason's PTSD with Elizabeth's empathy, the possibilities are endless. Next, we will learn about the intense legal showdown brewing between Tracy Quartermaine and Drew Kane, as Martin Gray dangles a tempting escape clause that could unravel everything at Monica Quartermaine's dramatic while reading. In the heart of Port Charles, tensions simmer like a pot ready to boil over at the cozy outdoor patio of Bobby's Diner, where the autumn breeze carries whispers of old grudges and fresh betrayals. Tracy Quartermaine, ever the picture of unyielding elegance in her tailored coat and sharp gaze, settles into a wrought-iron chair across from Martin Gray, the seasoned attorney whose calm demeanor hides a razor-sharp mind honed from years navigating the Quartermaine family's labyrinth of disputes. Not a single beverage graces their table, no steaming mug of Tracy's preferred Earl Grey or Martin's usual black coffee mirroring the stark, unadorned hostility that defines their exchange. As if even the simplest comforts would dilute the bitterness of the confrontation, Martin slides a crisp legal summons across the linen-covered surface, its embossed seal gleaming under the fading sunlight, outlining Drew Kane's bold lawsuit against Tracy for assault, stemming from that fateful moment when she physically ejected him from All Saints Chapel during Monica's funeral in his vulnerable wheelchair-bound state. Tracy's response erupts in a cascade of laughter, rich and mocking, echoing off the diner's brick walls as she dismisses Martin's careful phrasing of "threw him out" as an overblown interpretation of mere indignation rather than outright violence. He presses on, his voice steady yet laced with accusation, detailing how her actions not only reignited Drew's lingering injuries from a recent accident, but also inflicted profound emotional turmoil by barring him from paying final respects to Monica, the woman who had legally adopted him as an adult years before his mysterious disappearance into the shadows of his fractured identity. Adding layers to this tangled history, Martin reveals snippets from Drew's fragmented recollections how Monica had reached out during his early days in Port Charles, her calls unanswered amid the chaos of assuming Jason Morgan's memories, a poignant reminder of the bonds that time and amnesia nearly severed forever. The air thickens with their escalating debate, Tracy's manicured fingers drumming impatiently on the table as she counters every point with fiery retorts, her eyes flashing with the Quartermaine trademark defiance that has weathered boardroom battles and family feuds alike. Yet, in a twist that momentarily softens the edges of their sparring, Martin extends an olive branch disguised as pragmatic advice, an effortless pathway for Tracy to sidestep the lawsuit's pitfalls, perhaps through a discreet settlement or a worded retraction that spares everyone the spectacle of a public trial. Tracy's initial rejection is swift and unapologetic. She leans forward, her voice dripping with sarcasm, declaring she dragged both Martin and Drew through the courthouse doors without a second thought, viewing the entire suit as nothing more than a petty vendetta masked as justice. She unleashes a tirade on its frivolity, painting it as the ultimate waste of time and resources, her laughter now bordering on triumphant as she envisions the judge's gavel dismissing it in a heartbeat. Apologizing to Drew, unthinkable for Tracy, whose pride is as immovable as the Quartermaine mansion's foundations. She rises from her seat with theatrical flair, leaving Martin clutching the subpoena like a discarded prop, her parting words a chilling vow to meet them in the arena of law. Martin, undeterred, fires back with pointed observations that strike closer to home than Tracy cares to admit, suggesting her refusal stems from a deeper flaw and inability to own her missteps, coupled with a heart seemingly devoid of compassion for those outside her inner circle, a trait that's isolated her in past alliances and now threatens to do the same here. Tracy whirls around, jabbing a finger in his direction, conceding nothing except perhaps in the abstract, her retort laced with rare vulnerability. You're mistaken on every count except when it comes to that insufferable Kane. She strides away, heels clicking against the cobblestone path, utterly unperturbed by the mounting legal fees or on the potential stains on her reputation, her mind already drifting to more pressing Quartermaine legacies. Oblivious to the storm clouds gathering on the horizon, little does she know, this facade of invincibility is about to crack wide open, forcing her to confront not just Drew's grievances, but the shifting sands of her own family's fortune. The scene pivots to the opulent, yet somber Quartermaine living room, transformed into a chamber of revelations from Monica's while reading, where crystal decanters of untouched scotch line the mahogany sideboard and portraits of past patriarchs seem to watch with judgmental eyes. Gathered are the usual suspects, Michael Corinthos, his expression a mix of anticipation and quiet grief, Ned Quartermaine, fiddling with his tie in nervous habit, and Tracy herself, perched on the edge of a velvet armchair, exuding confidence that the estate's crown jewel Monica's sprawling house, a symbol of enduring stability, will land squarely in her lap or perhaps Michael's, securing her unchallenged dominion. The executor, a bespectacled lawyer with a voice like gravel, unfolds the document with deliberate slowness, each clause unveiling surprises that ripple through the room like aftershocks from an earthquake. Gasps echo as the bequests are announced: generous funds to longtime staff, scholarships for Port Charles youth. But when it comes to the house, the bombshell drops. It's bequeathed not to the expected heirs, but to the enigmatic Veronica Bard, a sister Monica referenced in hushed tones during her final days, whose sudden appearance raises eyebrows and whispers of forgery or hidden agendas. Tracy's face drains of color, her horror palpable as she clutches the armrests, the will's final twist slapping her with an inheritance that's equal parts sentimental and insulting, a weathered jar of pickle Lila, the quirky recipe from Lila Quartermaine's kitchen that now mocks her ambitions like a relic from a bygone era. This jar, filled with briny green orbs and tied with a faded ribbon, represents not just a family heirloom but a subtle rebuke from Monica, perhaps hinting at Tracy's sharper edges in contrast to Lila's warmth, a detail that stings deeper amid the room's stunned silence. Outrage bubbles over as Tracy vows to challenge the document in probate court, her mind racing through legal loopholes and character witnesses. But the damage is done. Veronica, with her polished resume of charitable works and vague ties to Monica's past travels, steps forward to claim her prize, her smile too serene for the skeptics in the crowd who murmur about her potentially fabricated backstory, possibly a long-lost relative or even a clever imposter exploiting Monica's generosity. The implications hit Tracy like a freight train: eviction from the home she's long considered her birthright, coupled with the humiliating prospect of negotiating room and board as a tenant in her own lineage's domain, a reversal that could drain her resources faster than any lawsuit. As the dust settles from this seismic family fracture, one burning question lingers in Port Charles' rumor mill: will this humbling blow prompt Tracy to reconsider Martin's olive branch, swallowing her pride to forge a truce with Drew and dodge further financial pitfalls? With the lawsuit's shadow looming larger and her Quartermaine status teetering, the offer's validity hangs in the balance, potentially reshaping alliances in ways that echo through upcoming episodes. Fans, brace yourselves. This clash of egos and estates promises twists that could redefine loyalties forever.